And then just to clarify, you expect to be back in this role this upcoming season, and what is your expectation for the future, given that your contract, with your contract going forward, and what it might look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my standpoint, I love the Padres in San Diego. I think obviously proud to be a part of this thing, and like proud of the work that's been done over the last 10 years to get us to a spot where we're one of the more successful franchises. I think we understand there's some unfinished business that's left to be done. I look forward to having conversations with John and the group here this off season. But again, like, we have a lot of work to do. So it's we've got a good team coming back, and I think for myself and our front office, our focus is always on trying to build a championship team year in, year out, something that's sustainable. But again, I enjoy it. I love it. I love San Diego. I enjoy the people here. Feel responsible for for the people that are here, and really enjoy the relationships, and looking forward to this off season, honestly, and the future.
Well, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Caswell. That is Darren Smith. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. D. Smith, it is so good to see you. It's the off-season. We're talking about, let's see, yet another managerial change with the San Diego Padres. What's next with AJ Preller? I feel like Groundhog's Day. Time is standing still. How about you?
Well, Martha, first and foremost, good to see you. Thank you for the invite, as always. Is that what we're talking about tonight? We never really went over this. I thought we were talking about decision day for Major League Soccer and SDFC on the road at Portland Timbers. I didn't realize that we were going to be talking about Padres managerial changes and the like, but I can adapt. I can adjust.
It's like a regular show, like from back in the day.
Right.
We both show up, and you had no idea what I want to talk about, and vice versa. We're like on different topics, so
just figure it out,
right,
man. When you have that much time, but yeah, I mean, it is deja vu, isn't it? And it really is. We've done this a long time, and I understand, and that's not for us to say that we're any better or whatever. It's just, we've done this a long time. And I think that there's a lot of younger fans and newer fans, and maybe they don't remember what it was like back in 2006 after the Padres got eliminated by the St. Louis Cardinals and Bruce Bochy left. That was a really, really shocking thing. So, we've done this for a while, and it does feel like, especially now, it's been a little bit more accelerated recently. With two managers walking away within 2 years. There's a lot, I'm sure, to get into and discuss, but it does feel like if you cover this team, and you've covered this team for as long as we have, these off seasons they're never quite dull, are they? They're never quite normal or at all. So it's just a matter of time before something happens that leaves you scratching your head. I guess in a way we're probably a little bit used to it, but like Preller said the other day, it's still surprising, if not shocking.
Yes, I would completely agree. All right. I do want to talk about AJ Preller. That to me now becomes like the bigger story of this entire thing. Is there anything that surprised you whatsoever from Mike Shildt's either resignation or retirement? I'm still not quite sure which one this is. One thing that I do feel sure of, though, is he does not manage again. I think there's just been too much dialogue about relationships with coaches. It's a very, very close fraternity. I don't know that Mike Shildt had a lot of friends in this game. When I say that, I'm talking about managers and the coaching staffs. And I think that that's going to matter, especially if he has aspirations of ever managing again.
Yeah, I mean, the choice of word I thought was interesting about he is retiring. I don't know what you think of when you think of the word retiring. I started thinking maybe, and this probably isn't the most important thing, did I retire from radio? I was retired, but am I going back? No,
you graduated. Not to go ahead and bring back
right?
not to bring it back to your say, you graduated to something different.
Right. And maybe that is a little bit of spin. Maybe that's just the organization saying, listen, we can't have two managers walking out of this place within 2 years. But Bob Melvin quit, and Mike Shildt has all but admitted he's going to get back and start working again. So I think that that's not necessarily the word that I would use, even if you want to parse through the language and say, no, he's retiring as the manager of the Padres. You're like, okay. But that's not what I think of when I think of retirement. Retirement is, here's your fishing pole.
Yeah.
Here's your rocking chair. And we're never going to hear from this person again unless somebody calls you up for some sort of retrospective interview somewhere down the road. So he said, I'm going to work again. So it's not a retirement. I just think it was a little bit of a way to polish it up so it didn't look like this was becoming a trend of managers walking away from what I still think is a pretty good situation overall with the Padres.
Why do you think why didn't this work out? Now, last year, AJ Preller and Mike Shildt seemed pretty tight. They had a very, very good relationship. What are you drinking? I'm having beer. Shocker. I'm having a West Coast IPA, Harlan Brewing Company. What do you have, Darren?
Just got a little rosé that I just opened.
Oh, rosé. Wow. Who's this guy? All right.
Little rosé to go with my chicken when we're done here, since my chicken took a little longer on the grill than I was expecting.
Oh boy, I better be careful on this. Okay. Why is he gone? I'm starting to think, because he was close with the players. He was buddy with the CEO. Like, one of the final pictures I took, Darren, Game 3 at Wrigley Field, was him embracing Eric Grubner, on the field. I mean, they are close. They talked all the time. So he had the favor of the CEO, who I think was also instrumental in hiring him. How did this happen? Is it because of what we're hearing about some of the behind the scenes stuff with the coaches?
Maybe. I feel like you're more qualified to answer that question than I am. I mean, I've not been credentialed to cover the Padres in a while, and I've barely had any conversations with Mike Shildt. You've had a million of them. So you probably know way more than I do and are more qualified to answer. I can only speculate. I have to accept a lot of this stuff on the surface, I think, which is, I do think, although I will say it is driving me absolutely crazy that he's like, I'm 57. I'm like, I just turned 53. Like, that's 4 years away. So I don't want to hear any of this stuff, but I do think baseball does take a toll. And I do think he's the kind of guy that is all in all the time. I really do believe that about him. And I do believe a lot of the things I think that were said, a lot of the things that have been reported. I don't know much about his relationship with the coaches other than what I read most recently with Kevin's story in the Union Tribune. But I think all you have to do is watch a press conference. I think all you have to do is listen to him when he goes on with Ben and Woods every once. You don't have to be a major insider to understand that this is a person who projected a level of unhappiness, right? Of grumpiness. Yeah. And then if you do a little bit of digging around, you do find out that it was more than just the visual of the press conference. There's like a whole bunch of, there's no shortage, Marty, of people that that have been around this over the last couple of years. You're like, that guy, like, what's going on there? And that includes some of the biggest advocates that he's had. And we know a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in his private life. I don't like talking about that stuff, but I guess it's been printed, and I guess some of this has been reported on. I don't think it's exclusively that, but I don't know. I think a picture's been painted that, this is a guy that had one way of doing this. It's not the only way to do it, but it's the only way that he knew how to do it. And if he couldn't do it that way, then he wasn't going to do it.
I'll say this. So when AC wrote that piece out, and you and I were, conversating, Darren, on social media, we were texting each other, but just about whatever else, what stood out. And I think one thing that you brought up was there anything new in this piece? And and I said yes. I mean, I think we've heard some grumblings behind the scenes, not just right now, not just this season, but I'll tell you this, when he was hired, I'll get there in a second. But I think this is the first time it's been brought to the forefront. The focus of the past couple of years, honestly, has been that he can manage. Oh boy, I'm sorry, he's out of the shower right now. My nephew.
We got crisis in the background.
Hopefully. Anyways, but he can manage, and he had a very, very good relationship with his players, right? He was very smart about not sucking up, but getting along with the most important player on the team, and that's going to be Manny Machado. They were very, very tight. He was, just when I saw that visually, always tight. The guys loved him. So he was a player's manager, had their back, refused to criticize them. But the coaching thing was different. Like, I don't think I knew that followed him from the Cardinals. When he was first hired by the Padres in that capacity as manager, because of course, he was behind the scenes with them. I heard from some people who had been part of that coaching staff when he was in St. Louis, and they couldn't stand him, could not stand him. and they used extremely. He was hated by some people there. So I thought maybe things had changed here, in San Diego, and things were different because, as you know, Darren, winning solves a lot of those woes. And he and AJ Preller seem tight. You talk about two guys who were single for different reasons. I know Shilt's going through his own. He went through a divorce, but it seemed like the perfect marriage because you had two guys who lived and breathed baseball. He was completely different personality-wise from Bob Melvin, who couldn't wait to get the heck out of that clubhouse. When he was showered and out the door before we got in for clubhouse access. So
Bob had places to be, man. He didn't have time to sit around here and chop it up about what went on in the fourth inning.
Exactly. And I would see Shildt and Preller talking all the time. So I was really not aware until a little bit later that there was some stuff that a lot of the way he treated people in St. Louis seemed to be happening with this Padres staff. And so when I hear about that now, I start to think, maybe that's the reason why it's like, it's not going to work. It's just not, it's not going to work there.
But Marty, the man will win you 90 games. And, I think that's a trade-off that certainly it seems like AJ Preller was willing to roll with. That this was the trade-off. This is what I'm willing to do, even if it is for a short amount of time, because we do feel like we are operating on short windows. It's great that AJ Preller gets on this Zoom call. We're still doing Zoom calls in 2025, by the way. I am amazed. What
do you mean by that? How would you? What did you want to do?
I don't know. Can we have a press conference in person, please? Anyhow, that's just more behind the curtain stuff for us. You agree? Don't pretend like you don't. You don't want to be.
I love my press conferences. Zooms are the worst.
Yeah, I think it's a trade-off because it certainly didn't seem like AJ Preller thought that there was many things that were wrong. If it is to be believed that he was part of the plans for 2026, listen, we're going to have a chat with Mike and say, hey, maybe we should lighten up a little bit in the post-game press conference. Maybe we don't need to be berating support staff all the time. Maybe we can figure out a way to just chill a bit. And it didn't get to that point. But it didn't give you any indication that AJ Preller thought like, oh man, this is a big problem. This is a really, really big problem. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be faced with this really tough decision. They kind of knew what this was, Marty. I'm sorry. And I don't mean to say that. If you and I have heard some of this stuff about what was going on in St. Louis, there's one of two things. Either the president of baseball operations, who I believe is really dialed in, you're telling me he didn't know some of this stuff, he didn't know this reputation, or he didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think it's probably the latter because the man can win you games. And that's what these guys are ultimately evaluated on. Sure, this story, it was look into what was going on behind the curtain, but I also think Mike Shildt's going to be remembered more for going back-to-back 90-win seasons and taking two different teams to the playoffs. And I don't really know, and I don't know that there's any evidence either from the AC piece or anything that I've heard to suggest that this style with which he apparently used on the coaching staff had any negative impact on them in the playoffs. Maybe guys were exhausted by the end of the year, but if a strike is called or a ball is called instead of a strike on Xander Bogaerts or from on Laureano, or, if a million other things, or if they can get a friggin' hit in game 4 or 5 last year, what are we talking about? If they win game 3 of that series against the Cubs, are we having this conversation? I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know the answer to that. So maybe this is the kind of thing. You and I are very fond of Bruce Bochy. Boch had a reputation of being really, really tough on the coaches. Never to this level, but he had a reputation for being tough on coaches, and lots of people do. You know who else has a reputation of being tough on people who work for them? Lots of people in the Padres organization. AJ Preller has that reputation. Eric Grupner has that reputation. So I don't know that they looked at this and like, yo, that's a problem. I think what they looked at is, the bedside manner could use a little bit of work, but we're winning 90 games. And if that's what it is, and that's the trade-off here, then we probably think the good outweighs the bad.
Do you think that anyone tried to talk him out of it? Like everything that you're talking about right now gets along with the CEO, which is important. It gets along with Manny Machado. It gets along with the highest paid players on that team. This is their window right now. Those contracts do not get any better come 2026. You had the right guy. Did anybody try? Did John Seidler? I mean, I keep thinking that if Peter were here, he would have flown over there. He would have figured something out, right? He would have made it work. Did anybody in the organization say, listen, Mike, take a real vacation. Come back. We can work through this.
Yeah, Mike. Here's a ticket to a cruise. Here's a singles cruise, Mike. Go out, have a little bit of fun. Here you go. We've opened up a bar credit for you. Go have a blast. It doesn't sound like it. It certainly, I think by now somebody would have reported on that. If they're like, Mike, you can't, but maybe you get to a point where you sort of sense that's a lot of wasted energy.
Yeah.
It's not like they spent a ton of time trying to convince Bruce Bochy to come back. They certainly spent not a single second encouraging Bob Melvin to stick around.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, okay, cool, great.
Do you think they wanted him back? Do you think that there's more to it? And I am now, because I'll tell you this a little bit different for me in this piece. There was a lot more scrutiny on the AJ, on the Preller Shildt relationship, and the more digging around I do on this, I'm hearing more. There was a lot of vitriol with Mike Shildt towards AJ Preller.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know it listening to Mike Shildt on MLB Network Radio. AJ Preller is God's gift to baseball, according to Mike Shildt. But maybe that's the kind of thing you say.
Since leaving.
I also think it's so weird that you can't pin down whether the guy's getting paid or not. That's another big part of it as well.
I'm going to say yes, he's getting paid, just because Preller refused to say that he wasn't getting paid.
Exactly. And he also joked about Mike paying for lunch, didn't he? He's like, oh yeah, Shilt's taking me out for lunch today. I realize that's anecdotal and it's probably just Preller's humor. But I'm with you. The fact that you just get these conflicting things, it's such a Padre thing that, I mean, is he getting the full sum of the salary? I would suspect probably not. Is there some sort of, hey, can we call it a retirement and we'll give you a little kiss on the way out the door?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could certainly see something like that.
Okay. All right. Who's going to hire the next manager?
Great question.
No, I'm serious. And I try to ask AJ Preller that, like, who's part of this? Because I think last time, you had was it Eric Kutsenda? I'm sorry. Was it Eric Kutsenda was in that group? Eric Kutsenda, Eric Grupner. You bring in you bring in like Trevor Hoffman, you bring in your baseball ops guy. I'm not sure if Mark Loretta, who's also Grupner's special assistant. I'm not sure he was involved, but I asked AJ Preller that, and of course I got one of those, long-winded answers. I'm not sure what the answer is. It's gonna be everybody. Does AJ Preller make the final call? Because
somebody's got to make the decision.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was last time around, Preller wanted Ryan Flaherty, who is now the bench coach of the Cubs. By the way, I heard he's gotten a lot better at giving interviews. They've trained him on this. He did it in spring training, which is, of course, very important if you're going to be manager of the Padres. So Preller wanted him. I'm sure Manny Machado did as well. I think Grupner and Co. They were more on Mike Shildt. So again, who makes the call this time?
Until we get a little bit of clarity on AJ Preller's future with the organization, I think that's an impossible question to answer.
Well, Darren, that's why you're here. I need you to answer these questions for me, because I can't answer that question.
I don't mean to be evasive, but do we even know that AJ Preller is going to be the president of baseball operations in 2026? If he's not, then obviously he's not going to be making that decision. So, I think there's still a little bit of this holding pattern. We were joking around on the podcast that, we're on Preller Watch 2025. Like we're back to that. And even if he does return, is it a unilateral decision? Is it it's never the sole decision of the baseball operations department. Because like you said, you're going to ask Trevor to come in. You're going to ask other people. They usually parade these guys around from one room to the next. They want to put them in front of these people. They want to they want to get as much input as possible. Is this guy going to work well with community relations? Is he going to work well with media? So they do a pretty thorough job, even if there are perceived favorites or what have you. We've heard this in the past. Trevor Hoffman. You remember when we asked Trevor Hoffman the questions that he had asked Andy Green? We're like, you were part of this interview process, and we asked, do you remember what he said? I was like, what did you ask Andy Green? And he said, I asked him if he thought his height would be a problem.
Oh, that's right.
Said it on the radio. I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa, okay. He's like, is your height going to be a problem? So they ask a lot of people just because they want a lot of input.
Yes, chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And Preller, by the way, speaking of chips,
might have some blind spots, and Grupner might want somebody who's of a certain ilk, right? Like, are those two houses equal anymore? I don't know. Like, are baseball operations and the business side, are they two equal houses anymore? Because they used to be two equal houses in the Padres structure, and I'm not sure that that's the case. And I say it, I'm not sure that that's the case because I don't know anything about John Seidler. I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing about him, and neither does anybody else. So, is he going to be truly trying to model this thing in the image of Peter Seidler and follow Peter's legacy? Or is that just some hot air? Because what Peter wanted was these two sides to be equal. They wanted the two sides to be equal with him in the middle. And I don't know if John Seidler's that kind of person or not. I mean, I don't. But until we ultimately, Marty, know who it is. And I think that's probably something for AJ Preller to bring up. If in fact, and it sounds like some of the reporting suggests that there is some discussion about an extension with AJ Preller, which I think is good. I think that's a good thing. Just so we're clear here. I know I got dragged on Twitter a couple of weeks ago because we used this platform that put out some AI video where it sounded like I was saying he should be gassed out of here. And that's not what I was saying. But, I think if I'm him, I'm like, do I have the authority or not to make the decisions for the baseball operations department? Or, is there another side that is being built on the business side with Mark Loretta, special assistant to the CEO, Jake Peavy, special assistant to the CEO? What are you building over there with these special assistants to the CEO? Mark Loretta has publicly said that he wanted to manage in the past. Now, is that still something that Mark wants to do? I don't know. But he has said that. Remember, he took a coaching job in Chicago for a year. He came back to San Diego. He was right before Jace Tingler.
He was just there for 1 year.
I think so.
Just there for 1 year.
He sort of did it to get back in uniform, and he came back and he really, he was pretty open about it, that he wanted, before Tingler got hired, that Mark Loretta thought that he should have been a candidate for that job. I don't think he ever got interviewed, and now he's a special assistant to the CEO. So
yeah.
Are those dots that could be connected? I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe he's done with that part of his life. Maybe he likes life on the business side. I couldn't tell you. It's been a minute since I've spoken to Mark, but maybe that is something that he still would like to do. And if so, like how does that factor into any of this? So again, I guess it's just a long-winded way of saying I do wonder, unless you know who it is that's going to be making the decision, who will be here and who will not be here, and what that might look like. These are all fair questions. These are all very, very fair questions. They were fair questions on the Zoom call the other day. AJ, what are you going to say when a candidate says, well, what about you? Like, what's your deal? Are you sticking around here, or do you have 1 year left? Are you looking for the exit sign? Because I might not want to. If you're somebody like a Ryan Flaherty, somebody who maybe AJ sticks his neck out. Maybe he gets the opportunity to stick his neck out a little bit, like he did with Jace Tingler. And if he does that and he takes somebody in here who's not, bona fide all sorts of great resume type of manager, then, that person's probably going to be like, well, I don't, what did I sign up for here? So, that's to me, the next step in this whole process is just finding out, what's the deal with this guy? Is he here? Is he into it? Is he not? Does he want to be here? I think until you played the clip to start tonight, you played it for a reason. What did you make of those answers when people were asking AJ about his Preller, asked by AJ Caswell? What did you make of some of his answers about his own future?
That nothing's a done deal, and he's going to have his options. That he is absolutely going to have his options. I mean, there's a lot of Padres fans that love him, want him to stay, and I'm sure media members, because a season with AJ Preller is never ever boring if you are covering this team or podcasting for this team or anything else. But AJ Preller is going to have his options, and so if he is butting heads with a CEO or anywhere else or anybody else, he's going to make sure that he's going to have his guy before he decides. I think it's going to be important. Like if you're AJ Preller, you're negotiating, and not just the money, but everything else, the control. Maybe you're going to say, okay, you know what, fine. But this time I'm hiring my guy. I did it your way. I need to have my guy. Once again, I thought Mike Shildt was his last hire, but no, for real. Now I mean it. This is the last hire. So maybe if you're going all in, balls in, man, then you want to go with your. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day.
Balls in.
Hang on. Whatever. Balls out. Whatever.
Jeez,
what am I talking about?
Marty after dark here on YouTube. But again, like there used to be a time where again, baseball was on one side, business was on the other side. And everybody just reported up the chain to Peter Seidler. That's the way that used to work around here. Yeah. That's the way this thing was happening. I'm not saying that AJ Preller wouldn't report to Eric Rupner, but does he want to? I am. You tell me, Marty. You're around it a lot. Are we just making things up about this dynamic? Are we just stirring the pot because?
No, we're not. Does he report to PV and Loretta too? And I want to say this too, okay? Real quick, because the season ticket letter that went out from Eric Grupner, where AJ Preller was not mentioned, was Mike Shildt mentioned in that letter?
Yes,
he was, but
yes.
AJ
Mike
Preller
Shildt,
wasn't.
11 different players, including JP Sears. Is that his name?
Really?
That guy was
Sears?
mentioned. Yeah, that guy was mentioned, but not AJ Preller. Which,
Number 5 starter
again,
for 2026.
Is at best it is careless,
Yeah.
and it's more likely that it was deliberate.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Again, I would like for there to be a way. I mean, I still think he's a pretty good GM. I know he's got, and has been here a long time. And if this is it, I think he's had a great opportunity and good on him. I will just keep pointing this out. It is not the same job. It is not the same job that he signed up for. And, long gone are people that he looked up to, people like Ron Fowler, people like Peter Seidler.
Yeah.
One of his, a mentor that he had, and Don Welke obviously passed away a few years back. It's not the same. And I've said this, and you will understand this. When we went to iHeart, there was a vision there from the market manager to the regional manager to the program director, and that changed. And one day you and I are like, this is not the place. And it's not to say that these are bad people. It's just to say it was not the same. Our ambitions were not the same. And, that is something I think about as it relates to this situation. Again, not trying to psychoanalyze AJ, but I think you and I probably know enough about him to know he would look around and be like, yeah, this is just, it's not the same. I love San Diego. He does. He has a real connection with the city here. I do believe that he wants to finish the job. I really, really do believe that. I think he wants to do it for the trust that was put in him by this organization, by Ron, by Peter. These are people that matter to him. But what I just don't know is what is his connection to these people now that are running the show here. And that's just an impossible thing. All we can do is a little bit of guesswork as to what this is going to look like. So until you know the answer to that, and until you know what the dynamic's going to look like, all we're doing is sort of speculating. And and there's rumors out there that other teams are interested in him. Now, maybe this stuff is being floated out there for leverage, right? Like that happens all the time in sports too. I wouldn't say it's impossible that it could be happening here, but you've heard of some of these teams. I'm not the only one. Come on, you spit it out. I mean, we all heard some of these teams. Colorado Rockies, you got a couple of them. Don't be shy. Come on.
Rockies would be he's gonna have.
You've heard a couple teams.
How do you think it's gonna go over in that locker room if Loretta has to be the choice? And I would be. By the way, I'm sorry. I would be shocked. I loved covering Loretta, the player, but I don't know how you do that 1 year as a bench coach with the Cubs, and that's been it. Brought in to assist the CEO, who I don't know has the best relationship with this general manager. I think that would create a very, very strange dynamic in that clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's the Padres.
It is the Padres.
We're talking about the Padres.
Yeah.
The manager who they just extended last offseason just quit. So,
I wonder. I wonder.
We have been through this. This is. I don't even know where this registers on some of the things that we have seen over the 20 plus years that we've been doing this. Seriously,
it's towards the top. To me, this one's towards the top. The Bob Melvin thing. I mean, people will say, "How come you guys didn't talk about this?" The Bob Melvin thing was written about during the season.
We did. I remember where we were when we talked about it. We had AC join us at the Blind Burrow at the end of the 2022 season.
Yeah.
We talked to him at the Blind Burrow about how even though these two guys don't get along, they've somehow figured out a way to make it work. And then maybe it's a yin and yang situation. So I don't want to hear any of that shit.
No.
Sorry,
I interviewed AJ Preller on the field about his relationship with Bob Melvin. Oh no, we talk 5 times a day. That got back to Bob Melvin. He's like, what? We do what? No,
guys, every time they would whisper about the other guy nonstop. I mean, listen, that stuff was talked about, but in the bigger picture, they were winnings. It's like, yeah, okay. I go back to the Bochy thing. Again, for people that have been around for a while. Marty, you and I were together when we knew that Bruce Bochy wasn't coming back to the team.
Yeah.
You and I were together. Do you remember where we were? Because I do. We were in Arizona. They had just clinched the NL West in 2006. And you and I, we went out afterwards. And we were told that Bruce Bochy's not coming back. We're like, what? What do you mean? They just won a second division title. How could this be happening? That's 4 division titles. He went to the World Series. Bochy's, he ain't coming back. And we didn't say anything about it until after the postseason. And then after the Padres get eliminated by the Cardinals, I want to say it was a Sunday night. We flew back Sunday night. We flew on the charter. And I was doing a show from OG's in Del Mar. And we had Sandy Alderson. I was like, and I sat on it until after the season. I said, is he coming back? Dead quiet for like 3 seconds. He's like, well, you know, like we'll have to figure. And you know, it's like that's just a crazy moment. Like it's just sort of like a crazy kind of thing. And you know, that's something that you could say, hey, this is going on. There is this tension that exists between this is my point. I forgot where I was going. The CEO and the manager didn't get along back in 2006. But you know, you sort of just said, yeah, okay, you know, they don't get along. We'll see. And then ultimately Bochy leaves and he goes to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Bob Melvin and AJ. We all knew like they were not shy. Like, yeah, okay.
Worst kept secret in baseball.
But you know, they won in 2022 and it was fun and it was to the NLCS. And you thought maybe this is sort of Doris Kearns Goodwin team of rivals kind of. And then 2023 and it's like, yeah, okay, like time to pull the ripcord on this. Yeah. This is terrible. So, you know, again, like sometimes you know, when people yell at you people in the media, you dishonest media. So when people yell at you guys and they say, well, where is the, you know, how come you're not, how come you didn't say those stuff? You're like, you do, but what are you supposed to do? Light it on fire when things are going pretty well? Like there's
a time and a place, and people are a lot more willing to go ahead and talk about this more openly, Darren, when there's resolution on their season. So these coaches who, by the way, the one thing I'd want to ask AC is when did he start working on this? What the dynamic on the coaches behind the scene? Because he talked to 20 people. By the way, it's not just the coaches, okay, that he had issues with. It's the people, the other staffers behind the scenes whose names you're not going to know. It's a lot of people. So he didn't just, AC did not dial up 20 people after Shildt retired from the Padres or whatever he did. That has been some time in the making. I'm curious as to like, when was this going to come out? Was this going to come out, you know, a couple weeks later?
Was it going to come out? Was it going to come out if he stayed?
Maybe it wasn't at all. Maybe it was depending on what happens with other coaches. You know, especially you have some guys. I mean, there's going to be changes to that coaching staff, no matter what. There definitely will be changes. Guys get hired away. Maybe one will be a manager. Who knows? You know, or maybe guys are just going to get, who knows, fired, reassigned. But there will be changes. Guys were talking. I had heard more, but I heard a lot more after Shildt was gone. You know, so you don't just start throwing things out there and damning someone like that unless you have a lot more. So there's a time and a place. Yeah, Barry Blue, I'm talking about when you're saying, where was this story during the season? The story was evolving. And if you want to go ahead and chase the story, go ahead and chase it with the St. Louis Cardinals and ask them what happened, because you didn't write that story and no one else really wrote that story, but you hear things. If you're going to go ahead and say, if you're going to write or go on a show and say they hated him, which they did, you better be, he's awake, he's 7. Damn sure. You better be damn sure that you've got that right. So you don't just throw that out there and, you know, get the clicks and then, oh, whoops, I'm sorry, maybe I got this wrong.
But you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you also have to ask, what does it matter? You know, does it matter? I mean, there were some interesting things in that story about some of the coaches. You know, you could tell like, yeah, this guy was exhausting. Like this guy was, you know, but he made me a better coach. And, you know, he was a big part. Like him being this demanding was a big factor in us and our success. And you know, from that standpoint, I do think that there is, you know, we all would love to say everything is kumbaya, everybody gets along, but that is not the case. That is just not the case, not in these high pressure situations. There is a reason. Listen, I mean, let's think about some of the radio shows that we would have. You and I would have some really, if people heard some of the things that Marty and I would say to one another, you know, they would have gone to human resources. And I'm not kidding when I say that. And it wasn't just a one-way street here. Marty would send text messages sometimes that were like, I was like, this is, what did I do to deserve this? You know what you did. We're hyper competitive people. And sometimes you think this is maybe the best way. I mean, I'm, you know, there were times where I thought the energy on the show was bad and I would pick a fight with you or Jordan or Jim or somebody, you know, just to kind of get it, just to like, hey, something's off here. We're just kind of going through it. And again, that's probably, it's hard to relate to what it is to be a big league manager with big league coaches and they're adults. So I probably shouldn't, but you know, just in terms of trying to, you know, figure out a way to say, how big of a deal was this, and because Kevin says something in the beginning of it. I wrote it down. I have it here on one of my notes somewhere. But he writes, like, in one of the first things that he says is that Shildt denied that there was anything that was inappropriate. And you're like, oh, okay, inappropriate. We're looking at inappropriate. And then you read through it and you're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. So, I yelled at a coach once because the coach wasn't doing the drill right or something. I don't know. Is that worth 90 games? I think a lot of people, Marty, would probably tell you yes. I think a lot of people would probably say yes. Yeah, that is worth it. Maybe the guy's bedside manner sucks, but man can coach ball. And, he certainly, like I said, there's no shortage of people that you and I have talked to that have left that are still here who would tell you similar stuff about AJ Preller and his style of being the president of baseball operations and how demanding he could be. You work for AJ Preller, you better go to the office with a toothbrush because you might end up in another state that day. Like some of those stories, and he is really, really demanding. But again, I think Mike Shildt was probably more of a prick than he was.
What did you say, Mike Prick?
I was trying to think like Mike Shildt prick, but I just said Mike Prick. And I think it was probably more a little bit of that, but just sort of has like this unhappy vibe to him. But again, like if that's the way he felt like he had to, that he needed to do it, then
he didn't come across well. Darren, like he got into with AC. He got into with AC a billion times, right? You would see these
and it wasn't just the post game stuff. It was. It was afterwards that this stuff would carry on.
It just seemed fake. And this is what I'm going to say. Like there were times where I'm like, does he really mean this? Like he refuses to criticize players. We get butthurt when you question the lineup. When you talk about someone's at bats, like he would get so angry and he would make it personal. And then we'd walk in a clubhouse. And he'd walk over to AC and like hug him. I'm like, what is this? This is bizarre. Did you really feel? Are you really that angry? Or are you trying to put on a show for your players? Like, what are we doing here? These are grown men. I mean, I don't usually, you don't see managers act that way. There's been times where I would ask him a question about Tatis in pregame, and then I might follow up in postgame. He's so offended, like, how dare you ask that question? It's like, who acts like this? And it's not about
like the big man baby.
No one cares. I don't care. And I know I screenshotted that thing about, the Padres personnel watching these pressers. And like, man, how does he act like this? It's not about how he treats the media. No one cares. I don't care. That isn't the story. My point in screenshotting that was if he does this on camera, when these are being televised to everyone on Padres.com and Spectrum and whatnot, then what is he like with those players and coaches and support staff behind the scenes? Like, he gets flips like that, gets so angry, then all of a sudden, hey, buddy, everything's wonderful. It just seemed bizarre and kind of
I mean, I think you're right about all of it. I mean, I think it sort of speaks to a level of insecurity. I think there's as somebody described him last season, it's like he's a little bit of a punch down bully. Yeah, that he thinks that if somebody is beneath him, that he can just sort of kick that person around a little bit, and he clearly viewed media as beneath him. How dare you? How dare you, AJ Caswell, ask me where I should be batting Luis Ariz, even though there's a million data points that suggest he should be someplace else. How dare you, sir? Where would you bat him? Which is just like the ultimate lame answer. But you're right. I mean, you would hear these stories. One of the reporters told me one time he had an exchange with Shildt, and then of course the press conference goes off the air and he goes and he puts his arm around the person. He's like, hey, are we still friends? And the reporter's like, what?
No.
No. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not here to be your friend. Like, whatever, Mike, get away from me, you weirdo. Like, it was just like, no, like we're like, I'm not here to be confrontational with you. I'm not here to be friends with you. I'm here to ask you what happened in the 6th inning. And you kind of blew a gasket and now you're trying to be weird with me. And I don't really want anything to do with that. Like, it's over. Like we've all been through this, Marty. Every single one of us has gotten aired out at some point, pre, post, somewhere in between. We've all, some of my best friends on planet Earth have done it to me. Bill Nevin did it to me, So like, it just happens, and it's just part of it. And you move on. I mean, I've never really had thin skin for any of that sort of stuff, but it just was this pattern. I think that was noticeable when it came to this guy. this guy right here on your screen. I think it was just a pattern of behavior. And, maybe he realized that he looked like a bit of a douche and then was trying to clean up after himself. And that's why he went after and tried to follow up with some of the people. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm sort of over Mike Shildt. I just, I'm fine. I'm good never to talk. I never met a person who liked him, like ever. And, we got a million friends in baseball. You're like, hey, what do you got on Shildt, right? We all try to do our due diligence. And they're like, yeah, not really a Shildt guy.
Nope.
Just like, I never met anybody who's like, oh, yeah.
He didn't.
You're going to love him. People said, Bob Melvin, you're going to love him.
Yeah, I know.
All across, you're going to love this guy. I'll make sure that I talk to him and that he knows to look out for you, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I would even did that with this guy.
I know. Nothing. Zero.
Oh, now it's somebody else's deal. Like, let him disappear. But
I got one text from someone in bold caps that said they hate him.
Yeah.
Like how? Wow. Like was this?
And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a 2-year shelf life.
Was this the worst kept secret in baseball? I mean, was it again so tight with those players? How can you have a clubhouse so tight with those players? And so much consternation behind the scenes with your coaching staff and your baseball staff. Just wow.
Players are pretty simple people. It's a guy who's a manager who wins 90 plus games and he protects them. And, that's in their best interest. As much as we'd like to think that they care about the, assistant hitting coach or whatever. Yeah. They barely even know who he is. Like, hey, this guy, he never throws us under the bus. He's there every day. And, we figure out, we win. I mean, you can say what you want. 2 years St. Louis, 3. I know, COVID, different. 90 plus, won 90 games twice. 90 games here in San Diego twice. But then, boom, out the door. Short shelf life. This is a guy, he's you need something to happen in a short amount of time before people figure it out. That's the dude you call.
Boom, boom.
Gonna leave you a mess. Everybody's gonna be like, God, hated him. But I also didn't think it was all bad. I mean, I thought AC was pretty fair. The letter, like, how can I help you with your career? How can I help you? Write me a letter. Let me know how I can help you with your career. So listen. I just think sometimes it's a trade-off. That's what you have to put up with. Sometimes there are people that are really, really difficult to work with. He seems like he was one of them. Oh boy, they've got to get the right guy next year. Whoever hires the next guy has to be the right guy, man, because who's the right guy, Marty?
I don't listen. I'm sure you've seen all the different messages coming in. A lot of people want Pujols, who of course is very, very, very tight with Tatis, and I mean the whole clubhouse, right? Manny loves him, Bogarts loves him, they all love him, right? But he does have a 10-year personal services contract with the Angels with Artie Moreno, who can overpay for a manager. I don't know that the Padres can. I mean, Moreno has to do something, man, to get it going. Have a Hall of Famer at your beck and call. I don't know that. You'd love to have him in San Diego, but the Angels make too much sense. So they met last night, talking some contract. I would be shocked if the Angels, that against the Angels, I'd be shocked if the Angels let him get away. I'm not sure. It's
time for one of our favorite bits, I think. This will be my my return to Marty Time TV. I think it's time that we cast the net. And we get as many people to make their predictions as possible, and we put all the predictions in an envelope. And then when a manager is named, we open up the envelopes and we see who everybody guessed.
Okay, who's going to be in charge of the envelope? I have a huge envelope. You gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, then I'm gonna.
We can do this every 2 years. It's a great bit. We will somebody get in touch with Daniel Jeremiah. Somebody we'll get John and Jim, and we'll get everybody involved and everybody will write a name down on a piece of paper and we'll, whoever wins, we'll throw them their flowers here. What about Don Mattingly? What's he doing these days?
Wait a second. No one got Shildt, right? No one got that right.
Somebody got Shildt. Shildt was
really?
I thought Shildt was the favorite last cycle through. Yeah, because he was there. I think all signs pointed towards Shildt.
I think I had Ryan Flaherty written down. Okay, someone keeps putting in Ron Washington. Ron Washington is not getting this job.
No,
he's not. He wasn't managed. He wasn't managed last time. He's 70-something years old. He has health problems. It's over. Ron Washington, by the way, go take care of yourself. Bochy's not going to be favored for this job either. I think they're going to go in a different direction.
What if Preller's not here, though?
Who's that?
What if Preller's not here and Loretta and Peavy are influential in this process?
Does Loretta still want to manage?
I'm just saying, what if Loretta and Peavy are influential? AJ Preller, for whatever reason, isn't part of this organization anymore.
Okay.
Because I think we all agreed, right? Bochy would not come work for Preller. Just not something that he wanted to do.
Okay.
What if Preller, for whatever reason, he leaves on his own, or they can't, and now you have two of those guys who both played for him, who I think are probably very, very close with him.
Yep.
And then Loretta, but do you really want to blow up this whole coaching staff too? That's the other part. I don't know that I would want to do that either. But
no,
and then Loretta's the coach in waiting or whatever.
You start with Niebla and you work your way out. As far as, I mean, he was hired before the last couple managers, right? So you start with him. The hitting coaches.
Do you lose Niebla if you don't hire him?
Yeah, if he wants the job, yes, I say 100%, absolutely.
Yeah. Because AJ's already said, I want my next guy to be here for 10 years. So that's sort of a message if you're on the staff and you want this job, that the next hire, at least the thinking publicly is, this is the guy for 10 years, which means you are not the guy for 10 years in my mind. But then again, it's the Padres and things are going to change in 2 years. So, yeah, Bochy manager, Loretta bench, right? I don't know, just a thought.
Let me ask you one more thing, because hopefully we'll talk again. Thanks, Darren, you've been great. You're always great. Do you think this team could get sold soon?
Before the work stoppage? No.
Okay. You think after that? If they're going to sell, it would be after that time, not before.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yes. I don't know how much longer you and I will be doing these things.
Right.
But I would think that heading into after work stoppage into a new media rights deal, yes. I think that this is headed towards a sale at some point.
Okay.
Somewhere down the road.
Agree. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd want to
I mean, I just think, it's not a good time to be selling a baseball team. For Nathan here, do you want me to read this?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that was the theory. That this might be it. I think I already talked about it earlier. Again, like this one AI clip passed around on Twitter, and it was part of a longer conversation about things are going to change. That was the whole point. It felt like there was going to be change. What if Shildt had been signed? So it didn't seem obvious, but now in hindsight, I still think that there is that. I still think, Marty, and tell me if you disagree. I still think what we've already said is, if you're not going to extend him, I definitely can see a scenario where he says, I would like to explore other opportunities. Mm-hmm. And other opportunities are rumored to be out there. So again, they're rumors. They've not been reported. Nobody's written that the Colorado Rockies or pick a team has shown interest. Nobody has written that yet, but maybe somebody will. Right?
I'm going to text you what
are you texting me?
I'm going to text you my pick for manager.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody was watching this and had some commentary.
No, but your last appearance was well received by some people who are on that in the organization. So,
yeah, well, I mean, they're just little things. Like little things sort of add up, and again, it is 100%. I think I would like to see AJ Preller return. I think he's done a good job. I understand that he's got his detractors. I understand that it's unconventional, but when you play in a division with this team that I just saw again in the Dodgers tonight, when you play in this division, I don't know that you can be safe. I do think that you have to take some big swings. I do think you have to take some big cuts, and I think he's the guy that can do that. Now, of course, you're going to have really big time swings and misses when those sort of things happen. And he has had that. There is no doubt about it. He has had those. But again, I just think we're talking about, I do hope that he comes back. I do hope that he is given some freedom to do the things that he wants to do. But we'll see what happens. I wish I knew. I just don't know anything about John Seiler. I don't know if the whole system has changed. I don't know if John has said, you know what, everybody's going to report to Eric Rupin now because I'm John Seiler. And what do I really know about any of this? I sat in on a couple of meetings, but I'm not I'm not yet my brother. And, maybe he's like, hey, AJ, you now have to report to this guy. And if that's the case, I could see a scenario. It's like, yeah, I don't
Peace
know.
out.
Yeah, I might want to take my chances somewhere else. You know, as disappointing as that would be to not finish this.
Yeah,
I can
100%.
definitely see that, and I know you can too. So it's not like me. I know people just think like, oh, you're making all this stuff up. The reason I bring up all the things that you and I have talked about for 20 plus years isn't to say, oh, look at us, we're never wrong about anything. It's to say there's a lot of new people here, and there's a lot of chatter, you know, and people just, if they don't know who I am or who you are, believe it or not, there are lots of people who don't, and that's great. There's a lot of new fans. They don't know the history. They were young when Bochy left. But it's to say, like, we're not just part of an ecosystem that just throws things out there, and you're always sort of, well, is this news? Is it not? Like, it's just, you know, there's reasons to think that, you know, it might end, but I think it's more likely he stays, but it's close.
It's a lot.
And I'm
closer.
sure if there's a press conference, they'll be like, yeah, what are you talking about? We were never going to leave. You know, but you and I know better than that. But I hope he stays. I mean, I'm sort of, people said it's Stockholm syndrome for me, and I admit that it might be Stockholm syndrome that I want him to stay, because I do think he really wants to win, man.
Yeah,
he really. And like, listen, everybody wants to win. I get it. Not really the most profound statement on planet Earth, but I think he is so driven to win, and has been really, really driven to win. So from that standpoint, you know, listen, you want to tell me Theo Epstein's walking through the door, Marty? I'd be like, all right, AJ, listen, it was a great run. See you later.
We'll take you to the airport. We're good.
I love you, but listen, have fun in Denver, man. Like, go to the Rockies, go someplace else. But I don't know that that's happening here. And I think part of that is, you know, it is an organization right now, for as much as Preller sells it as a great opportunity for managers. You know, I think some people will probably think a little bit about it because of what you asked a little while ago with ownership and with the president of baseball operations and who's running things. So I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, like I said, we'll get our answers in some time. So did I talk to Manny? No, I did not. Manny was talking to players. I did see Manny, though. I did see Manny there, and I thought about Marty. I thought about Marty because she would have said, hey, go ask him what he thinks about Shildt, but he was there to talk some football.
I would have run over with my microphone. I can lend you one. I would have run over, but he looked happy. He looked happy and content, and that's good to see. He
was there with his boy. He was there with his little boy. They were running around the field, and some of the players came out and talked to him. He was disappointed. I will say that, because the head coach of SDFC and the captain of the team were talking to him for a little while, and I did interview with them both because I was waiting for them, and they were still on the field. And they were like, yeah, he's a bit disappointed. And, you know, yeah,
has to be that window, man.
That one clip that made the rounds afterwards.
I know.
You know, I mean, if you watch the whole 6 minutes, I think you saw what Manny was all about. But
he was bummed. He was bummed. Took it on himself, and he just snapped at the end. He has tried. He honestly has tried the entire season to say the right thing and not shove reporters in the locker when they ask questions that annoy him. But I think at that point, man, he was over it, and he let it go with my guy Jake Gariani from CBS. But anyways, Darren, you're the man. Thanks for doing this. I will be hitting you up for some SDFC playoff tickets, because that's coming.
All right. Well, we got pregame at 5:30. It's decision day here, so a lot to play for on Saturday. We win and
I saw
up
that.
2 seed.
Wait. Win and what else? That's
win and no worse than the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, plus earning a berth to the CONCACAF Champions Cup next year. So big one in Portland. Plus, it's a potential playoff preview. So there's a chance that you could see Portland for 4 straight games. Portland is right in that window where SDFC is on top of the Western Conference standings and Portland's at the bottom of the playoff picture. So could be Sunday, then it could be next week at Snapdragon Stadium, and then it's a best out of 3. It could be back at Portland, and if it goes to a 3rd game, it could be back in San Diego. So these 2 teams play each other 4 times over the next 2.5 weeks, which is kind of bonkers. So it's probably going to be Portland, Austin, but record-setting team, most points, most wins ever for an expansion team.
Wow.
Waited 30 years for an MLS expansion team, and these guys delivered in a big way. So good group. And we have the pregame show at 5:30 and the kickoff at 6 o'clock. So I hope people will listen.
Are you going to go to Portland, or are you kind of worried about all the, all the buildings that are on fire? Portland's on
no
fire.
King's Day?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
sure
I can't believe they're playing a soccer match in a war zone in Portland. It's kind of crazy.
Where am I? Where do I live? I know.
Why don't we just go play this game in Kyiv while we're at it? So, no, I think they're going to be okay, Marty. I think they're going to be okay, even on No King's Day. So I think that they will somehow figure out a way. That's the other. I mean, you just reminded me of the whole death threat thing with Mike Shildt too.
Okay.
I don't mean to laugh at it, but like,
I'm not laughing, but I'm going to say this to you because I thought about this as well. And I'm sorry, because I know people are crazy, and I realize that. He's not on social media. So how do people send death threats when they're not? They mail it? Do they mail it in? Is it a fax? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, I pictured one of those like old school ransom notes that somebody cuts out all the different words from a newspaper and like glues it to a.
It's horrible.
Again, I don't know that this rose to the level of Mike Shildt requiring a bulletproof vest to go make a pitching change. But there's a lot of losers out there. There are a lot of losers out there. And you said he's not on social media. It was another point that was brought up in the AC piece that he was really, really sensitive about things that were said on social media. I was like,
he has a burner account. Totally.
Listen, social media sucks. I mean, it's brutal. The other day, I made a joke that you guys didn't ask him who he was talking to on the phone. Like the first response was like such an irrational thing for people to say. So listen, I don't know that required FBI intervention, but back to your original question, I think SDFC will be okay. I don't know. Maybe they'll take a shorter walk than they normally take on match day, but I think they'll be okay. So it should be a good one. We got a good streak. Could set another MLS record for most road wins in a season. Could set an MLS record here. Could be a 12th win. Nobody's ever done that. Not for expansion teams. Anybody. Nobody's ever won 12 on the road. MLS record.
Okay, this has been nearly an hour conversation. Are you still the same glass of wine?
Yeah, and it's empty.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm taking you too far.
Have you not seen me like go to this empty glass many times as a sign of distress? Like, can we wrap this up?
I am so sorry. Okay, then I am so sorry. You could have gone and I would have read all these messages. A lot of people asking about salary cap, salary floors, our Pujols.
Yeah, feels like it's coming.
Wow.
Feels like it's coming. It does. And the Jeff Passan piece was an interesting one about the NLCS being a referendum on baseball's economics. And right now it's tilting towards it's whack and probably should be reset. So
last question.
I was rooting for Murph.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Murph. The man who walks around with pizza in his pockets. Darren, I will let the last question from Gus is for you. I know where to find you.
You can find me daily on a little podcast called Section 1904. You can go to the website, section1904.com. You can kind of find on social media every once in a while. Dip my big toe out there.
On Threads.
Yeah.
Threads is still kinder, gentler. Blue Sky.
Blue Sky's, I don't know.
No.
I don't know. It's just, it's bizarre. Yeah, and also on the SDFC broadcast. So
good.
Hopefully we will have that till December 6th is the day of the MLS Cup. December 6th. Yeah. Wow. It's a long time.
Okay.
Good luck planning holiday travel. Leah's like, "Oh, can you come to a thing?" I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Might have to go without me. Not so sure about that one. Marty, it's always good to see you. Everything good in your world?
Everything's interesting in my world. How about that? I have a lot of projects.
Always is.
A lot of projects going up north all the time.
All the north.
Oh, dude, what's happening? I can't go to a Saturday because the freeway is going to be shut down because we're launching missiles in California.
Yeah, so anyway, we're bombing. We're bombing North County.
Yeah, things are good. So thanks. Let's do this again. It's been too long. Let's do this again. Next time you can bring an entire bottle. Maybe we should go to Rockies and we should just do the show from Rockies. I have not been to Rockies. No joke since we were there with Steve Sands. It's been a long time. They don't allow kids there. No, they don't even allow kids on the outdoor patio. So let's go soon. We'll invite some people. All the October babies in the tub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Tony Jr.
Tony Jr. man. Yeah. I think his daughter has the same birthday as you.
Oh really?
I think so. Yeah, I think I have that right. So
October 9th. You believe Mike Shildt's 4 years older than me?
No.
I mean, that's like crazy, man. Do I look like that?
You look great.
I mean, I don't mean to poke fun. I'm not trying to make fun of the man's appearance,
Hey,
but like,
by the way, we apparently missed a great NFL game because Gus on the chat keeps telling us about these two 40-year-old quarterbacks. By the way, it's Joe Flacco, who was like the third string quarterback for the Bengals. They signed, from the Browns and Rodgers. So we're missing a hell of a football game. Sorry about that.
Rodgers!
I'm sorry to keep you away. Rodgers!
Bengals won 33-31.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oy. Brutal.
Game is, well, I mean, it's a Thursday game. Game's in Cincinnati.
It's the Bengals.
It is the Bengals. They hit a field goal with 7 seconds left, according to my ESPN app.
Okay. Darren, go refresh your wine.
Martha, thank you. I'm going to go eat some Adobato chicken.
Awesome. It's been on the grill for an hour.
It's been just grill. It's probably chicken jerky at this point. Got to do what I got to do. I didn't want to leave you hanging.
All right, you're the best. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for all your kind comments from joining. That's Darren Smith. You can find him on 1904 on the podcast. You can find it on YouTube. You can sometimes find him on social media, although it's hit or miss. But you can find Darren. You can find him. Thank you all. Thank you all. Hopefully we'll have an answer on AJ Preller's future the next week or so, because I need to figure out if I'm going to the GM meetings in Las Vegas. Want to go, Darren?
Where is in Vegas?
I think it's Vegas. You should go.
When is it?
Next month. November.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'll text you.
See what happens. Might it coincide with that big basketball tournament there that I always hear John Schaefer talking about?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
All right.
Go Aztecs.
Tell Leah I said hi.
Yeah.
Bye. That's Darren Smith. I'm Marty Caswell. We're brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful soccer weekend. Let's go SDFC. And we will talk to you next week.